Hello, and welcome to an employer presentation by the Employees Retirement System of Georgia. The following information is an overview of the Georgia Judicial Retirement System, or JRS, and will include topics such as membership eligibility, benefits information, both active and rehired retiree reporting, as well as a list of JRS plan resources for employers. But first, a little about who we are. The Employees Retirement System of Georgia, or ERSGA, administers 5 separate and distinct cost-sharing, multiple employer, defined benefit pension plans for various employer agencies of the state of Georgia. In addition, ERSGA oversees 2 life insurance plans and 3 defined contribution plans, including the Peach State Reserves, or PSR, 401k and 457 plans. Our agency also serves as a Social Security administrator for all political subdivisions of the state. Before we get into today's presentation, I will preface that the general retirement benefits information provided within has been verified. However, should any information conflict with law, the law will take precedence. For today's presentation, I will begin with some overall information regarding the JRS plan and its members, and then move to discuss specific employer responsibilities and how they relate to the employer desktop online. Membership in JRS is a condition of employment for any person employed as a Superior Court judge, district attorney, state court judge, solicitor general, juvenile court judge, statewide business court judge, or legislative council of the Georgia General Assembly, where employees become JRS members on the first day of their employment in an eligible position. There are special eligibility exceptions for members of the Attorney General's office who were hired before July 1st, 2005. JRS employers range from statewide entities such as Superior Courts of Georgia, Prosecuting Attorneys Council, and the Georgia General Assembly, to local employers such as individual county board of commissioners. For each, no membership application is required. However, depending upon the entity type, the enrollment of new members will be different. For statewide entities, you will provide such information into the statewide system, where the new members will be added to the next applicable monthly file. For the county employers and those who report manually, they will be able to enroll new members via the monthly detail report on the employer desktop. However, for those county employers who upload via file, they would include such information within the file. For all ERSGA plans, it is important that members are enrolled in the correct contribution group. However, for JRS members, the contribution group codes are more complex than other retirement plans. Therefore, we must first understand the structure as it relates to JRS members and their eligibility. Specifically, the contribution group codes are 4 alphanumeric characters that are based upon position and whether such members are eligible for and actively contributing to additional benefits such as spousal coverage and/or group term life insurance, both of which will be discussed in detail later on. The first letter of the contribution group relates to group term life insurance, or GITLI, where either an N represents having no GITLI coverage or an S is those who are eligible for GITLI. The last character is either a 1 or a 2, denoting spousal coverage, where a 1 means a member with no spousal and 2 is someone with spousal coverage. The 2 letters in between represent the position, with the list presented on the screen detailing which code corresponds to each eligible position. Please do not hesitate to reach out to your assigned employer reporting contact at ERSGA to confirm which contribution group to correctly enroll new members in. Enrolling new members or those with prior JRS service into an incorrect contribution group could impact the total required contributions remitted and the members' overall retirement benefits. In order to understand this a bit better, we have 2 examples that we are going to discuss. The first is a juvenile court judge with no spousal and no GITLI. This member would be enrolled in an NJC1 group. N because they are not eligible for GITLI, JC to represent their position as a juvenile court judge, and 1 to show that they are ineligible for spousal coverage. The second example is a solicitor who is eligible for spousal, but not eligible for GITLI. Their contribution group would be NPC2. Again, the N represents the no GITLI, the PC stands for the Solicitor General position, and the 2 denotes that this member would be eligible for and actively paying spousal contributions. Employee contributions are made through payroll deductions in the amount of 7.5% of the member's earnable compensation. For some members, the employer pays some or all of the employee contributions, where such contributions are called pickup contributions. For those members who are eligible for group term life insurance, they pay an additional 0.25% of their earnable compensation toward the GITLI benefit each month. For those who are eligible for and actively paying for spousal coverage, they would pay 2.5% of the member's earnable compensation and would be required to contribute for a maximum of 16 years. In addition to the employee contributions made to JRS on a member's behalf, the member's employer or governing council makes additional contributions in order to fund the benefits payable under JRS. The employer contribution amount is an actuarially determined percentage of a member's earnable compensation and is invoiced each month to the individual judicial councils based on the positions that are reported. How is earnable compensation defined in JRS? Generally, earnable compensation for JRS members means the full rate of regular monthly compensation from state funds payable to a member for their full normal working time, excluding any local supplements. It refers to the amount of pay used to determine monthly contributions and to be used when calculating retirement benefits. It is important to note that members hired before July 1st, 1998, and those hired on or after July 1st, 1998, have different rules as to what is considered earnable compensation. For the purposes of this presentation, we will focus mainly on those hired on or after. However, please reach out to ERSGA if you have any questions related to members hired before such date. Regarding what salary is considered pension eligible, JRS statute defines salary as earnable monthly compensation from state funds provided by law for judges, district attorneys, and solicitors general of the state courts. The definition of salary also includes pay such as the employer-paid pickup contributions for Superior Court judges and district attorneys, in addition to the accountability court supplement that is paid monthly to applicable JRS members. Some examples of compensation that is non-pension eligible would be local supplements provided by individual counties and incentive pay related to workload, such as the quarterly juvenile court judge stipend for backlog. As previously mentioned, for all JRS members, salary includes earnable compensation plus any applicable pickup contributions. For Superior Court judges and district attorneys specifically, their salary is state funded and defined within law for their individual positions. For all other JRS eligible positions, salary is defined as earnable monthly compensation. However, for state court judges, solicitors, and juvenile court judges hired on or after July 1st, 1998, their reported salary cannot exceed the salary from state funds provided by law for Superior Court judges. Those JRS members serving as business court judge or as legislative counsel do not have the Superior Court judge limit. These salary limits are based upon position and are set by state law and do increase with legislative changes and/or appropriations from the Georgia General Assembly. These historical limits are documented on our website under Employer Forms entitled JRS Salary Limit History, which breaks down the annual limit based upon the payroll frequency, either monthly, biweekly, including for those biweekly payrolls that are either 2 or 3 pay period limits. While JRS members' gross salary may be over the limit, it is important that for retirement purposes, only up to the salary limit is pension eligible and should be reported for each member. This includes ensuring that the required employee contribution percentage is only taken up to the salary limit and not on any gross salary above such. Creditable service in JRS is made up of prior service, which can include service earned under the predecessor systems prior to July 1st, 1998, plus any service for which the member is credited while as an active JRS member. It can be earned, transferred into JRS, or in some cases, purchased. A member earns creditable service for each month of active JRS membership for which employee contributions are deducted and reported. In order to qualify for a full year of service, 12 months must be reported. There are several types of prior creditable service that JRS members may be eligible for, such as prior ERS service that can be transferred to JRS, the buying back of prior refunded service in JRS, or any applicable military service. For more information about these service purchases and transfers, members can contact our customer care group here at ERSGA for more information. Depending upon the JRS position, members may be considered either full-time or part-time, with the difference not being hours, but instead the ability to practice law outside of their JRS eligible position. Whereas full-time members are prohibited from such, part-time members are not. This distinction will be denoted in the job classification, and it is important to correctly report as it does factor into retirement calculations for JRS members. As mentioned earlier on in the presentation, spousal coverage under JRS allows for an additional benefit to a spouse or non-spouse beneficiary after a member's death. However, it is only available to those JRS members who were employed prior to July 1st, 2012. If a member originally rejected spousal coverage, they may elect retroactive coverage by notifying JRS and paying the appropriate retroactive cost. Monthly spousal contributions are made through payroll deductions in the amount of 2.5% of a member's earnable compensation. Spousal contributions cease after the member has paid for a total of 16 years, after which the employer must update the contribution group accordingly while decreasing the required contribution amounts deducted and remitted for such member. Failure to do so will result in overpayment of contributions and will be invoiced back to the employer. Regarding group term life insurance, JRS members on July 1, 2002 had the option to elect to be covered under GITLI, while members joining between July 1, 2002 and June 30, 2009 were automatically covered under the GITLI benefit. This coverage is not available for any JRS members who commenced membership on or after July 1, 2009. For those members who are actively employed and have GITLI coverage, the monthly premiums equal to 0.25% of earnable compensation, which are deducted from pay and remitted to ERSGA. Any contributions that are paid over the age of 65 will be refunded to members at retirement. For instances of returning to employment after retirement, in most cases, rehired retirees are limited to 1,040 working hours per calendar year. If a rehired retiree exceeds 1,040 working hours in a calendar year, their pension benefit becomes suspended and remains suspended until January of the following calendar year. In most cases, for regular retirement, there's a 30-day wait period before a rehired retiree can return to work. However, there are some exceptions to these limitations, which include service as a legislative member of the Georgia General Assembly, appointment as a senior judge, and retirees of certain predecessor systems such as the Trial Judges and Solicitors Retirement Fund, as well as the Superior Court Judges Retirement System. For more information, please visit our Rehired Retiree Information for Employers page on the ers.ga.gov website. And if you still have questions, please email us at the ERS Rehired Retiree email address, which is seen listed above. For all JRS retirees who return to employment, a rehired retiree reporting form should be completed at the time of hire by the employer. The form should be submitted to ERSGA within 30 days of hire, and it is very important to submit this form within the required 30 days, as employers are responsible for any overpayments that may occur if the form is not received in a timely manner. You can locate this JRS Rehired Retiree Reporting Form on the ersga.ga.gov website in the Employer section under Employer Forms. As we move through this presentation and begin discussing employer responsibilities in the Employer Desktop, I want to first discuss some key points to remember about the JRS plan. First, It is critical that employers enroll all new members and ensure that active members are reported under the correct contribution group. Failing to do so can result in an over or underpayment of required contributions and can ultimately affect JRS members' retirement calculations. Second, please ensure that you are only reporting up to the applicable salary limit. If there is not an exception based on membership date or position, all salary and contributions that are reported over the limit will be invoiced back to the employer. Lastly, keep in mind that for those members with spousal coverage are only required to contribute 16 years of additional contributions, after which such point their contribution should be changed and the required contribution amount decreased. Failing to do so will result in overpayment of contributions, which will also be invoiced back to the employer. Now we are going to discuss the individual responsibilities of the JRS employers and how to follow through with such duties on the employer desktop. First, it is the employer's responsibility to deduct, collect, and report all required employee contributions. There are three main components required in the monthly reporting process, which include the monthly summary report, which is used by employers to report the total earnable compensation and appropriate retirement contributions due for the payroll reporting period, the employee detailed data, which is a member record for all eligible active JRS employees, and depending upon the employer, this information can be submitted via monthly detail report or uploaded via file. And lastly is the monthly contribution payment, which includes the total of the employee and any applicable employer contributions. All contribution payments must be submitted via ACH, where the ACH debit transaction is created for the total net payment due from the summary report that is submitted. Next, it is important that the employer maintain all employee records, ensuring that all data is submitted correctly and in a timely manner. This is particularly important in regard to the deadline for JRS employers to complete the monthly reporting process, which is the first day of the following month. JRS employers are also responsible for enrolling all new, eligible members. This includes adding their information on the employer website or including it in the monthly file, whichever is applicable, while also deducting the correct employee contribution amount beginning from their date of eligibility. For all new JRS members, they will be enrolled in the no spousal and no GITLI contribution group based upon their position. However, members with prior JRS service may be eligible for either GITLI or spousal coverage. Therefore, in order to ensure that the correct contribution amount and group is selected, please reach out to ERSGA for more information. Additionally, this responsibility extends in adding termination dates for all employees who are no longer actively employed with the employers. This can be done either via the monthly detail report or the file, as well as the ad hoc report, all of which will be discussed in more detail later on. Lastly, all employers must fulfill the above responsibilities by registering on the employer website, which can be found at employer.ers.ga.gov. Registration requires the submission of a completed contact form, which employers can receive by reaching out to their assigned employer services analyst. Once completed forms are returned to ERSGA, designated payroll or human resources personnel at the employer agency will be added to the ERSGA employer contact database. A unique user ID and password are then required for access to the module. It is important to note that for those members who are retiring or who leave employment with the employer, that any new employer reporting contacts reach out to the agency to get all information updated accordingly. For first-time users, the Employer Reporting Quick Reference Guide found on the ERS website contains step-by-step instructions on how to log on to the employer website. Once an employer contact is registered and able to sign on to the employer website, the above shows a screenshot of what an individual should expect to see on the employer desktop. While we will not discuss all of the modules labeled within, we will discuss the most important and applicable to monthly reporting of active and rehired retiree members. The main panels from the employer website that will be discussed in the presentation today are the Maintain Monthly Summary Report, Maintain Monthly Detail Report, or the Upload Salary and Compliance Detail file, depending upon how you report, the Maintain ACH Details module, the Ad Hoc Termination Reporting, and the maintain rehired retiree reporting. The first step in the monthly reporting process is submitting the monthly summary report. In order to complete or view a report, click on the appropriate report month for the applicable report type, which will always be JRS SW for those statewide entities or JRS NS for all county employers. To submit a report once it has been completed, click the checkbox under the Submit column and Submit to ERSGA. It is important to note that once a summary report has been submitted, employers will not be allowed to change such information. If this instance occurs, please contact your reporting representative at ERSGA immediately, who will be able to assist in a resolution. In order to submit the monthly summary report, employers must complete the sections denoting total members, salaries, employee, and any applicable employer contributions. Employers are able to utilize a calculate function which totals the expected contributions based on the total salaries entered and the rate of each contribution group. For JRS members, it is imperative that the correct salaries are entered into the applicable contribution lines. For example, 2A represents those members who pay both spousal and GITLI, while 2D represents those who pay neither spousal nor GITLI. Failure to do so can result in over or underpayment of required contributions for the month. On this report is also where employers can allocate invoices on the Invoices tab, as well as make adjustments to past reported salaries and contributions via the Adjustments tab. Invoices are created during the reporting process due to discrepancies between the summary report, contribution detail, and/or payment received. These invoices can be either positive or negative, indicating a shortfall or overpayment of contributions. For summary report discrepancies, once the reporting official has submitted all components to JRS, a balancing process is run during which the contribution totals are compared to the payment remitted. Invoices are then created as a result of the differences between the amount of the payment and the total contributions reported on the summary report. Examples include submitting the incorrect salaries from previous months and/or reporting the salaries in the incorrect buckets or contribution group lines. For contribution detail discrepancies, the reported contribution for each individual is compared to the expected contributions. Expected contributions are calculated based on reported salary and the contribution rate for the report month. Contributions are flagged and corrected to expected values. The following scenarios are examples of contribution detail discrepancies. Members who are reported under incorrect contribution groups, such as those members who have reached the maximum spousal contributions, and those new members who are incorrectly reported with either GITLI and/or spousal coverage. Also, any contributions that are reported for ineligible employees, or any contributions that are reported in error. Outstanding invoices can be allocated when reporting on the monthly summary report. On the Maintain Monthly Summary Report page, there's a tab for Invoices. This Invoice tab lists out all outstanding employer invoices to be allocated, where the View Invoice button provides a PDF document of more detailed information for each invoice. The employer then selects the invoice to be allocated and clicks the Allocate button. On the Reports tab, under the Maintain Monthly Summary Report, the employer should then verify that the amount in the invoice adjustment field matches with the total amount of the invoice or invoices allocated. Depending on the type of invoice, either a debit or credit, the amount entered may increase or decrease the report total. ERSGA recommends that employers should always review any outstanding invoices prior to allocating. During the reporting process, it is sometimes necessary to make corrections to reported data. These corrections to past data can be made with future months' report submissions, either via the monthly summary report or via the file for all applicable employers. This adjustment is referred to as a prior period adjustment. An employer may submit an adjustment for the following reasons: changing the salary and contributions previously reported, adding salary and contributions previously omitted, changing the contribution group previously reported, or changing the percent time worked that was previously reported. For JRS employers who submit manually or via the monthly detail report, Adjustments to prior periods can be done via the Adjustments tab under the Monthly Summary Report. Here you can provide the applicable member's Social Security number, contribution group, and the period needing to be adjusted. Once all adjustments have been made, there will be a net credit or amount due. This amount must be entered onto the Total Prior Period Adjustments line on the Main Reports tab of the Monthly Summary Report, so that the amount considered in the total amount due for the monthly reporting. If you fail to enter any or the incorrect amount, an error will populate, not allowing you to submit the summary report for the month. In conjunction with the summary report, employers must also provide individual salary information for each active member, which can be done in the file for all those who utilize such, but for all others this is done via the monthly detail report. With this report, employers are able to update employee information as well as terminate and/or enroll new members. On this report, there are 5 different sections of information for each member as follows. First is the Demographics tab to view and update name, address, and date of birth. The Details tab allows you to view contribution group, job classification, payment reason, payroll frequency, and termination and eligibility dates, all of which can be updated. The Salary and Contribution tab allows you to view and update monthly salary and contributions, while the Comments tab allows you to submit additional information for the posting month as needed. And lastly, the Summary tab provides an overall view of the information being submitted for such month. To access the Monthly Detail Report, select the Maintain Monthly Detail Report panel from the Employer desktop and click on the bolded report month for which you are submitting information. Once through, you will see a list of all active members. Employers are then able to view the employee's information by selecting the View button under All Data for the individual members. Here you see all 5 tabs previously mentioned, where the Details tab can be specifically used to update or correct an employee's contribution group, job classification, payment reason, payroll frequency, termination date and reason, and/or plan eligibility date. Another key tab under the Detail Report is the Salary and Contributions page. Here employers can enter salary and percent time information while utilizing a similar calculate function as the summary report, which will then fill in all required contribution amounts. Once completed, click the Save button and return to List, which will then take you back to the list of active members on the Detail Report. As previously mentioned, JRS no longer requires physical membership application forms, but instead has an electronic enrollment process for all new and rehired employees. Membership accounts are created electronically based on data that is transmitted in either the monthly detail file for all file transfer employers or online via the monthly detail report for all employers who report manually. Employers are required to provide the following demographic data for successful enrollment of each new employee: valid Social Security number, full legal name, date of birth, gender, valid address, valid contribution group code, and valid plan eligibility date. Upon receipt of the detailed data for any new employee to the system, membership and enrollment records are created, assigning a unique pension identification number to the account. Upon receipt of the detailed data for any rehired former plan member, the account is reactivated and enrollment records are updated accordingly. Monthly rehired retiree reporting is required for all JRS employers. The reporting must be completed each month, even if you have no rehired retirees to report. The reporting is completed in the Maintain Rehired Retirees module on the Employer desktop, where monthly reporting is due on the 10th day of the following month. Once you navigate to the Maintain Rehired Retirees module, for those who do have retirees to report, you will then click on the Report Rehired Retiree Data button. You will enter the report month, click Retrieve, and enter your data accordingly. Be sure to save once your data is entered and click the Approve button to complete the process. For those employers who have no rehired retirees to report, you will click on the No Rehired Retiree Data. You will then enter the report month and then click the No Data to Report button to complete this process. As we come to a close on this presentation, I want to first stop and discuss some key points to remember as it relates to monthly reporting. Specifically, it is important to always review and allocate any outstanding employer invoices. These invoices can represent money that is due to ERSGA in regards to summary or detailed discrepancies, or these can represent credit invoices where money is due back to the member or employer for overpayment of contributions. Next, for those employers who submit both a summary and detail report, it is important to ensure that all information within both reports match up exactly. As mentioned previously, the summary report, once submitted, cannot be changed by the employer. Therefore, if there are any discrepancies or differences between the two, they need to be reconciled before submitting. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to ERSGA for more help. Lastly, it is important to always update any terminating members' information and ensure that all new eligible employees are correctly enrolled in the plan. As mentioned before, this information can either be submitted on the file or via the monthly detail report. If you have any questions about which contribution group to enroll members in, please reach out to your employer services representative to confirm accordingly. Lastly, we will discuss some important modules on the employer desktop which are not always used in the monthly reporting process. However, they can be helpful for employers in completing such. Specifically, the Maintain ACH Details page is used by employers to set up the ACH for each plan that is reported to ERSGA. This must be done prior to entering and submitting any report information, where the following tasks must be completed by the employer to set up the ACH. First, they must navigate to the Maintain ACH Details page, where they will see both the contributions and other employer ACH lines. For the purposes of monthly salary reporting, employers will then fill out the contributions ACH line, where they can select the Manage button and provide the routing and bank account number for the account to be debited. The other employer ACH information can be used for anything such as rehired retiree reporting as applicable. Upon submitting your summary report, ERSGA will then debit the account for the net payment due as determined by the summary report total within 3 business days. Another helpful module for employers is the ad hoc termination reporting page. In order for termination dates to be transmitted to JRS on the monthly contribution detail report or file, they must be entered into your HR system in a timely manner. This process could take several weeks from the employee's actual termination to the time JRS receives this information and updates our records. To expedite this process, ERSGA has provided the ad hoc termination reporting module on the employer desktop. Please use this option whenever an employee will be applying for a refund of contributions or retirement before the next monthly detail report or file is sent. For example, an employee resigns on February 2nd and wants to apply for a refund. The February 2nd termination date will not reach JRS in the monthly detail report or file until the following month, March. An employer can use the ad hoc termination report to supply the termination date in real time, allowing the member to successfully submit their application for benefits sooner. When viewing the ad hoc termination reporting page on the employer desktop, you will be able to update this information for both unreported and active members. In closing this presentation, I'm going to discuss some special reporting situations as well as answer frequently asked questions regarding JRS reporting. First, for those JRS employees who terminate prior to the end of the month, employers are expected to report all salary and associated contributions that is earned in an applicable report month. Additionally, employers need to supply a termination date, and this can be done either via the monthly detail report when submitting for the applicable report month, or can be done in real time via the ad hoc termination report. Second, for those JRS members who are working for multiple entities, such as a solicitor who is working in a circuit for multiple counties, or a state court judge who is serving in the capacity as a juvenile court judge, such members are only to be reported by one employer with a combined salary up to the limit as applicable. Next, for those reporting scenarios where the payment reason must be updated, such as a 3 pay period month or salary increase or promotion, it is important that the employer update the payment reason either in the file or on the Details tab of the monthly detail report. That way, such information flows over to ERSGA correctly. Lastly, upon discovery of a Social Security number reporting error, the employer should immediately contact the retirement system before the correct employee SSN is submitted in the next employee detail file or report. ERSGA will require a copy of the affected employee's Social Security card for documentation purposes, as well as to correct and change the SSN submitted in error. For additional resources on the JRS plan, please visit both our main and employer websites listed on the screen. On our main website, there's a variety of informational resources such as the JRS plan page containing helpful guides for members, including a one-page infographic, short video overview, as well as the detailed JRS employee handbook. Additionally, the historical salary limit document mentioned earlier can also be found on our website under Employer Forms. The most detailed resource for employers is the JRS Employer Manual, which provides a summary of important plan provisions along with the descriptions of key processes and procedures, where this can also be found on our website under the Employer tab. We appreciate your attendance in today's informational session and thank you for the opportunity to serve you in the state of Georgia.